Hi guys, it's Frankie from Frankie Tech. Good to see you guys again, and I'm here with the ultimate Snapdragon 870 comparison between the POCO F3 and the OPPO Reno 6 Pro Plus. How do these two Snapdragon 870 beasts stack up? Let's have a look. So let's go through the rundown, guys. Design, display, performance, and then let's just talk from a value perspective because there is quite a bit of a price difference here. The POCO F3, of course, costing just under $400 US. You can pick it up for 2,700 Hong Kong dollars, while the OPPO Reno 6 Pro Plus still has yet to get its international pricing, but you can pick this phone up in Hong Kong for over 5,000 Hong Kong dollars, which, let's face it, puts it in almost flagship territory when it comes to pricing. So are you really getting that much more in this Reno 6 Pro Plus versus the POCO F3? Starting with design, it's 7.8 millimeters versus 8, 196 versus 188 grams. You have a pretty good build quality on both of these phones, but there is a key difference, guys, and there you see with the antenna bands, the Reno 6 Pro Plus is using an aluminum frame, and let me tell you, it does make a difference. From the beautifully designed accent button right here, to just that cold metallic feel on the bottom and on the edges, the Reno 6 Pro Plus is just bringing a more refined, high quality level of design, something that you would see in a Mi 11 or Mi 11 Ultra. And even looking at the bezels, you can see that the Renos are definitely smaller than the POCO F3s, but the punch hole on the POCO F3s is still smaller than the Renos. But all in all, this is one area where I do believe that the Reno 6 Pro Plus does take the edge. And this is really what you're paying for here with this phone, a more premium build quality with a more refined camera module, really well built, versus even what we see on this POCO F3. They're both beautiful devices, but if I had to give the edge in terms of design, I'm going with the OPPO Reno 6 Pro Plus. And in terms of display, we have a 6.67 inch versus 6.55 Full HD AMOLED display on both of these phones, and both panels look terrific, let me tell you. And I would say from a kind of premium looking standpoint, this curved edge on the Reno 6 Pro does make it feel more like a flagship compared to the POCO F3s. But there is one area where the F3 wins at 120 Hz versus 90 Hz. This is the area where I think the Reno series is still just falling back. It can't compete with what Xiaomi's delivering on this POCO F3. Don't get me wrong, the Reno 6 Pro Plus is a terrific panel, but I would have expected that they would have jumped to 120 Hz with this series, and they have not. So despite both having excellent displays, I give the display award here to the POCO F3. And talking about performance, we see the Snapdragon 870 on board the POCO F3 and the Reno 6 Pro Plus. And if you did tune into my throttling test, you would have seen that the POCO F3 did a terrific job. It did hang in there, even though it didn't deliver the highest scores that we've seen from the Reno 6 Pro Plus of over 700,000. But it still delivers terrific results, and a big reason for that is because of the software. We got ColorOS version 11.3 and with the additional 12 gigs of RAM, and they have unlocked what's called RAM expansion to 19 gigs of RAM for this phone, which is pretty incredible. But to be honest, I think you should be good with the 12+3 setup, but it's great to see you do have this option on this phone. So while the POCO F3 does throttle a little less, I say because of the software performance, because of the extra RAM capabilities, I give the performance edge to the OPPO Reno 6 Pro Plus. And talking about battery, we have a 4,520 versus 4,500 on the Reno 6 Pro Plus, 33 watt versus 65 watt fast charging. And that, my friends, is what separates this phone, I think, from the POCO F3. You essentially have flagship level fast charging. That's pretty much what you're paying for here with this phone. But of course, the POCO F3 is no slouch. It still takes just under 1 hour to fully charge this phone. But this is one area where if you look at the overall specs, the Reno 6 Pro Plus comes out on top. And in terms of fingerprint scanners, this is another area where I think the Reno 6 Pro Plus does have the edge. With the built-in display fingerprint scanner, it is super fast, super responsive, while the one on the side of the POCO F3 is good and is very speedy as well, but it just doesn't feel as premium as the one that you get in this phone. Vibration motor is another area where they're kind of similar, but I would say the Reno 6 Pro Plus just delivers a slightly more premium experience, while the POCO F3, I would say, it's not to the level of the best that we've seen from Xiaomi in this regard. And here we are for the audio speaker test between the POCO F3 and the OPPO Reno 6 Pro Plus. Dual speakers on both of these phones, no 3.5mm headphone jacks. Let's point the mic forward and have a listen. What can I say? Terrific sound from both of these. I think the POCO F3 gets a little bit louder, but the Reno 6 Pro Plus has the more balanced and I think more pleasing sound overall. It's not a night and day difference between these two, but I say if you'd have to give the slightest of edges to one phone, it would go to the Reno 6 Pro Plus. And wrapping up with the cameras, of course, we have the primary 48 megapixel IMX586 on the POCO F3, and then we have a 50 megapixel f1.8 on the OPPO Reno 6 Pro Plus. And if you've seen my camera test, you will know that this phone definitely delivers some very pleasing shots. This is the one area, guys, where I think besides the same processor, picking up this phone will make the difference, a real flagship level versus a mid-range experience. The cameras on the Reno 6 Pro Plus are really impressive in both day and night. Video is also solid. You're getting a much higher level camera experience with this phone. Now, don't get me wrong, you can still take some good shots with the POCO F3, but that was really not the point of this release. And considering you're using a 2-year-old sensor in this phone, it just can't really compete next to what this phone or a lot of other phones releasing this year can offer. So when it comes to camera, it's a standout win for the Reno 6 Pro Plus. So that's it for this comparison and my final verdict here between these two phones. I think it's clear to say, guys, which is the better phone between these two. I would say the Reno 6 Pro Plus is the better phone with better cameras, a better audio experience, better RAM capabilities, and the Snapdragon 870. And yes, you only have 90 Hz on this display, but let me tell you, it's a terrific display despite that. And once you combine that with a terrific build quality, the metal edge, and just a much more refined look, I think this phone hands down is the better overall option if money is no object. But that's not the world we live in ultimately, guys, and you know the truth here is that for the price, this POCO F3 is delivering and then some next to the Reno 6 Pro Plus, giving you that 120 Hz AMOLED display that you don't get with this phone. And yes, maybe the audio, maybe the RAM capabilities and the cameras aren't to the level of this phone's. You're really not conceding much picking up this POCO F3. Yes, it's the less premium device of the two, but ultimately for me, it still offers the best affordable flagship experience for the price in 2021. But hit me up in the comments. POCO F3 or Reno 6 Pro Plus? Which is your preferred Snapdragon 870 phone? Hit me up in the comments. I'd love to hear about it. And that's it for this video. If you liked it, give me that thumbs up. And if you love the content of Frankie Tech, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon for future updates. Really enjoying this phone, guys. Stay tuned for more great upcoming phones and content here on the channel. And this is where I leave you by saying, this is Frankie Tech signing off. Have a good one. It's not the best value Snapdragon 870 phone, but it sure is a beauty.